The PSP will always be one of my favorite consoles. It wasn't just portable, it felt like a full RPG machine in your pocket. I've already shared some PSP lists here on the channel, but this one is a little different. Today, we're looking at 12 PSP RPG you can actually beat in a single weekend. Whether on the original handheld or on an emulator, these games are short, fun, and unforgettable. When the PSP first came out, players didn't expect to see a full dungeon-crawling RPG on a handheld. Yet, that's exactly what this game delivered. Brotherhood of the Blade puts you in control of a custom hero, lets you pick from different classes, and drops you into a world packed with monsters, quests, and endless loot. For many, it was the first taste of having a Diablo-style experience in your pocket. The action is quick and satisfying. You slash through groups of enemies, grab whatever weapons and armor they drop, and push deeper into each new area. It's simple but addictive, the kind of loop where just one more dungeon easily turns into hours of play. Leveling up feels rewarding, and the constant stream of new gear makes every battle feel worth it. There's a main story about defending the city of Avon from a growing threat, but the real hook is in experimenting with your build. Choosing the right mix of skills and equipment can completely change how you approach tougher encounters. Sometimes it's about raw damage, other times it's about finding the balance that keeps you alive against mobs of enemies. What makes it perfect for a weekend is its pace. You can sink 10 to 12 hours into it, make steady progress, and come out the other side feeling like you've completed a full adventure. It's not bloated, it doesn't drag, it just delivers fast, fun RPG action that holds up even today. From the very first battle, Is7 makes it clear that this isn't your usual handheld RPG. Instead of waiting for turns, you're right in the middle of the action, dodging attacks, chaining combos, and swapping characters on the fly. It's fast, responsive, and full of energy, the kind of combat that keeps your attention locked in every second. Each party member feels different. One might be quick and agile, perfect for slicing through weaker enemies, while another hits slower but can smash through heavy armor. Switching between them isn't just fun, it's necessary, since certain foes can only be taken down efficiently with the right weapon type. Boss fights in particular highlight this system, turning every encounter into a test of reflexes and smart team management. Outside of battle, the game keeps things moving with a steady flow of new areas, quests, and equipment. There's a sense of progress at all times, and you never feel like you're wasting hours grinding just to move forward. The colorful world, combined with a vibrant soundtrack, adds to the charm and makes exploration feel rewarding. What makes it stand out is the pacing. The main story runs around 15 hours. Short enough to beat in a weekend, but long enough to feel like a complete adventure. Is7 shows how a streamlined RPG can still deliver epic moments without demanding endless playtime. Most RPGs give you hours to grind, explore, and slowly build up your hero. This one throws all of that out the window and asks a simple question: can you save the world in just 30 seconds? Half-Minute Hero takes the classic RPG formula and compresses it into a frantic race against the clock. In half a minute, you need to gain levels, buy weapons, defeat monsters, and rush to the final boss before time runs out. To keep things fair, you can pray at shrines to reset the timer, but there's a catch: it costs gold. That forces you to decide if it's better to invest in stronger equipment or buy yourself more precious seconds. The result is a non-stop cycle of decisions that keeps you hooked and laughing at the same time. The game doesn't stop with just one mode. After beating the main hero story, you unlock different campaigns that twist the formula. One lets you guide a princess with long-range attacks, while another leans into real-time strategy. Each new mode adds variety without losing the game's frantic charm. The retro pixel art and tongue-in-cheek humor give it an old-school feel, but the speed and creativity make it stand out even today. Best of all, you can finish the main story in just a few hours. It's perfect for a weekend session, short, addictive, and unforgettable. Half-Minute Hero proves that sometimes less really is more. Instead of offering a lighthearted adventure, this RPG drags you straight into a world of blood, steel, and monsters. Lord of Arcana is one of the darkest titles on the PSP, mixing action combat with a grim fantasy setting where survival feels like a victory in itself. From the very first mission, it sets a heavy tone. Enemies are brutal, bosses are massive, and every swing of your weapon feels like it could be your last. You take the role of a slayer, chosen to claim the power of the Arcana, a legendary force tied to ancient magic. To get there, You'll fight through quests packed with grotesque enemies and dangerous arenas. The combat is slower and more deliberate than most RPGs, demanding careful timing and positioning. Getting greedy with attacks almost always leads to punishment, especially against giant beasts that can crush you in seconds. Weapons define your playstyle. Axes hit hard, but leave you vulnerable. Swords balance speed and power, and spears give you reach at the cost of agility. You can even use spellbooks and Arcana cards to unleash devastating magic. Learning when to block, dodge, or go all in is the key to surviving. Fatal finishers with their violent animations make each victory feel raw and satisfying. It might not be as polished as other big RPGs, but its atmosphere and tone make it unforgettable. Lord of Arcana is the kind of game you play for the intensity, not the comfort. Short enough to enjoy without dragging, yet heavy enough to leave an impact, it remains one of the PSP's most unique dark fantasy experiences. Parasite Eve Third Birthday is one of those PSP games that feels different from the start. Released in 2010, it takes the cult RPG series into new territory, mixing action, shooting, and light RPG elements. You play once again as Aria, but the world she fights for is darker than ever. Strange creatures called the Twisted are destroying everything, and every mission feels like a desperate struggle to survive. The combat is what makes it stand out. Instead of just running and shooting, you're always on the move, dodging attacks and finding the right moment to strike back. The big twist is the overdive system. Aya can jump into the body of any soldier on the field, taking control of their weapons and position instantly. It's fast, chaotic, and fun. Sometimes the only way to win is by swapping bodies at the perfect moment and turning the enemy's attack against them. Even with all the action, it still has that RPG flavor. You unlock skills, upgrade Aya's powers, and decide how to build her abilities. Maybe focus on raw damage, or better defense, or faster recovery. Those choices can make the difference in tough fights. The story also adds to the mood, with mystery, tragedy, and some emotional twists that keep you hooked until the end. It's not a long game, you can finish it over a weekend, but it stays with you. Parasite Eve is short, stylish, and intense, showing how the PSP could deliver experiences bigger than anyone expected from a handheld. Valhalla Knights takes a different approach compared to many PSP RPG. Instead of focusing on flashy cutscenes or long stories, it gives you freedom to shape your own adventure. Right at the beginning, you create a party from scratch, choosing races, jobs, and skills. That flexibility makes the game feel personal, since every team is unique, and testing new builds is part of the fun. The gameplay follows a dungeon crawler style. Towns serve as safe hubs, while outside areas are filled with monsters and quests. Battles happen in real time with your whole party on the field, which can get chaotic quickly. Positioning and teamwork are essential, and going in unprepared usually leads to defeat. The challenge is fair, but it forces you to think about how your team is built and how to use them in battle. Progression is rewarding thanks to constant customization. You can create fast rogues who combine melee with magic, or tough tanks supported by healers. Each choice changes the way fights play out, and new equipment keeps pushing you to adjust your strategy. It's a loop that makes dungeon crawling addictive without becoming too repetitive. Valhalla Knights may not be the most polished RPG on the system, but it has a rough charm that stands out. The campaign is short enough to finish without dragging, yet the freedom of building parties gives it replay value. For players who enjoy experimenting and want something different from the usual formula, this game remains a hidden gem on the PSP. Crimson Gem Saga is the kind of RPG that feels like a love letter to the golden age of the genre. While many PSP games experimented with hybrids or action-heavy systems, this one went back to basics with colorful visuals, witty writing, and classic turn-based combat. It doesn't try to reinvent anything, but it polishes the old formula so well that it feels fresh even today. The adventure follows Killian, a young knight who quickly finds himself pulled into a larger conflict involving greed, corruption, and betrayal. The plot mixes light humor with serious themes, and the dialogue often pokes fun at RPG cliches without feeling forced. The characters are lively, bouncing between sarcastic jokes and heartfelt moments, which makes spending time with them enjoyable. Battles are straightforward but rewarding. You control a party of up to 4 characters, each with unique roles like heavy attackers, healers, or magic users. The twist comes from the skill point system. Every level gives you points to spend on abilities, allowing you to shape each hero's growth. Some skills shine when combined with others, encouraging smart party setups instead of mindless grinding. Another nice touch is how enemies appear directly on the map. You can choose when to fight instead of dealing with random encounters, which keeps the pacing smooth. And since the game avoids endless grinding, progress feels steady from start to finish. With a main story that runs around 12 to 15 hours, Crimson Gem Saga is perfect for players who want that classic JRPG vibe without the endless commitment. Not every RPG has to be huge or groundbreaking to leave an impression. Astonishia Story is a great example of a smaller, simpler game that still delivers plenty of charm. Originally created in South Korea and later brought to the PSP, it offers a very classic JRPG feel, turn-based battles, a straightforward story, and a colorful cast of characters. It doesn't try to reinvent the genre, but that's exactly why it works so well for quick play. The story follows a young knight tasked with protecting a sacred relic, and while the plot isn't overly complex, it's told with light humor and a touch of heart that keeps things moving. The characters might lean on familiar RPG archetypes, but their banter and personalities give the adventure a warm, old-school feel. It's the kind of game that reminds you of the early days of handheld RPGs, where simplicity was part of the magic. Battles are turn-based and grid-based, with positioning adding an extra layer of thought to each encounter. Instead of just selecting attack and waiting, you have to consider where your party members are standing, who they can reach, and how to make the most of limited movement. It's easy to learn but gives enough depth to stay interesting throughout the campaign. What really makes Astonishia Story stand out is its size. The game doesn't drag or overstay its welcome. In around 10 to 12 hours, you can see the whole adventure from start to finish. For players looking for a lighter RPG that feels like a throwback to the classics, this is exactly the kind of hidden gem the PSP was perfect for. Persona 3 Portable proved that even a massive RPG could work on a handheld. The PlayStation 2 original was known for its mix of school life and dungeon crawling, and Atlas managed to bring that full experience to the PSP without losing its charm. It feels big, but also surprisingly personal. You play as a student who discovers the Dark Hour, a hidden time at midnight when the world freezes and monsters called shadows appear. To fight them, you summon personas, manifestations of inner strength. By day, you attend classes, hang out with friends, and build social links, which directly power up your personas. By night, you enter Tartarus, a huge tower full of shifting floors where the real battles take place. Combat is turn-based and built around exploiting weaknesses. Hit the right element and you get another turn. Get careless and enemies will do the same to you. It's fast and strategic, rewarding preparation and smart decisions. The portable version adds one big twist. You can choose a female protagonist, opening new dialogue and social links. Some 3D exploration was simplified into menus, but the trade-off makes the game faster to navigate on a handheld. A focused playthrough can be wrapped up in around 20 hours, making it surprisingly manageable compared to the console version. Persona 3 isn't just a port, it's proof that the PSP could carry a full-scale RPG in the palm of your hand. Monster Kingdom is one of those PSP RPGs that many players overlooked, but it deserves more attention. It mixes classic turn-based combat with a monster collecting system, giving it a style that feels familiar, yet different at the same time. Instead of relying only on human characters, your real power comes from the creatures you capture and raise, making team building the most important part of the journey. The story follows Vice, a young hero who lost his family to mysterious creatures known as abominations. His search for revenge leads him to the discovery of magical jewels, stones that allow him to summon monsters to fight at his side. Each creature has its own skills, strengths, and weaknesses, so choosing which ones to carry into battle becomes a puzzle of strategy. Combat looks traditional on the surface, but the jewel system changes everything. You can fuse monsters to create stronger allies, adjust your lineup depending on the enemy, and save your strongest abilities for the right moment. It has the addictive loop of capturing and training, but with a more serious and darker tone than most games in the genre. One of its biggest strengths is the pacing. The story can be completed in about 15 to 18 hours, which makes it perfect for players who want a complete RPG experience without investing dozens of hours. It's not as famous as other titles on the PSP, but Monster Kingdom stands as a hidden gem, short, strategic, and rewarding from start to finish. Dragoneer's Aria is one of those PSP RPG is that many skipped, but it still delivers a solid adventure. The story follows Valen, a young Dragoneer sworn to protect elemental dragons, ancient beings that keep the world in balance. Not long after completing his training, a new threat rises, and Valen is forced to defend the Guardians in a quest that feels like a classic JRPG from the PlayStation 1 era. The game sticks to traditional turn-based combat, keeping things simple but effective. Each character brings different strengths, and Valen himself can use dragon skills powered by the Guardians. Fights are about timing buffs, spells, and strong attacks, but they never feel too drawn out. The pacing is steady, making it easy to keep moving forward without hours of grinding. Its presentation is colorful and anime-inspired, with bright towns, open fields, and flashy effects during battles. It might not push the PSP hardware to its limits, but it has a charm that makes the journey enjoyable. The focus here is less on spectacle and more on giving players a clean, straightforward RPG. One of its biggest strengths is its length. The main quest lasts around 12 to 15 hours, which is long enough to feel complete, but short enough to finish in just a couple of days. Dragoneer's Aria may not be a famous PSP title, but for fans of turn-based RPGs who want something short, focused, and satisfying, it's a great pick for a weekend playthrough. Silverfall is an action RPG on the PSP that feels like a hidden gem. It borrows ideas from Diablo, focusing on fast combat, loot, and constant progression, but trims everything down into a format that works well on a handheld. Right from the start, you create a custom hero and choose to side with either nature or technology. That decision shapes your abilities, skills, and even parts of the story, adding replay value without making things complicated. Battles are simple but satisfying. You move through dungeons and open areas, fighting groups of enemies, collecting items, and upgrading your gear. Each new weapon or armor piece feels meaningful, and the loop of fighting, looting, and improving keeps you hooked. It's easy to jump in for a quick session, but also easy to lose track of time as you clear just one more area. The game's presentation is straightforward, with fantasy landscapes that shift between ruined towns, dark forests, and tech-driven zones. It's not the flashiest PSP title, but it has a certain charm, especially when paired with its soundtrack. The mix of medieval fantasy and industrial design gives Silverfall a unique identity compared to more traditional RPGs. What makes it stand out is its length. The main campaign lasts around 12 to 15 hours, short enough to finish in 2 or 3 days, but long enough to feel like a complete adventure. It's the kind of game that doesn't waste your time, yet still gives you a sense of growth and accomplishment. For fans of action-heavy RPGs, Silverfall is a forgotten PSP title worth revisiting. That's it for today's list. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. It means a lot to have you here. I hope you try and enjoy these games. See you next time.